Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Retain, Grow, Thrive. Today I'm joined by a partnerships legend. He's a young up and comer, but he's kicking well above his stride. Joined by Colin Dougherty, who is heading up partnerships over at Cart Converse at the moment, but is also working on quite a few other projects and has experience across a range of things. So I'm super excited to have Colin here today. Colin, welcome aboard the Retain, Grow, Thrive podcast, my friend. How are you?
Amazing. Thank you for having me, Joe. I really appreciate it.
Of course, of course. So for the audience, I've kind of framed it a little bit around your partnerships expertise, but I know you have a lot of like expertise beyond that. I really enjoy, the generalized e-commerce content and content
Yeah.
that you put out there around what's happening in the startup world, in AI, in particular big things in business. But yeah, can you tell the audience a little bit about yourself and how you ended up at Car Convert at the moment, heading up partnerships.
For sure. Yeah, I started my e-commerce journey a while back. I lost my job and I was like, okay, I think I'm going to start an e-commerce brand out of Charleston, South Carolina. And this was like right before COVID, so it was a wonderful time to start an e-commerce
Yeah.
brand. And I ran that for 3.5 years, and eventually exited that to a holding company. And through that, I've met all these incredible people in the e-commerce world, people that I text every single day, people on the brand side, people on the SaaS side, and I just completely fell in love with the industry. And so now I had this opportunity to join the Car Convert team, where it's like it's a no-brainer product where I see a value add and I can see a difference in the revenue that we're making for brands, and so that gets me fired up a ton.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, coming from that brand side and then being able to see how much of an impact, certain SaaS has is an amazing combination, in my opinion. And I think it often helps on a partnerships front because it's kind of like, you know, you can sit there and actually relate to their end customer from an agency partnership perspective, as well as obviously what agency, SaaS, what all of us are trying to do, right, is make sure that the customer and the merchant are getting as much benefit as possible. So I think being able to cover those areas is really cool. So Colin, tell me a little bit more about what Cart Convert does, who your ICP is, what problems you're solving for a merchant.
Yeah, for sure. The concept is really simple. It's basically customers go onto a brand's website. They don't opt into the traditional marketing tech stack of your Klaviyo, your Attentive, your PostScript. We will then text those customers, start a real conversation with them, and basically answer any of their questions they have about that product. And so we're walking them through that customer journey, which allows them to be more comfortable. And then at the end of the day, they're going to actually make that purchase for the brand.
Nice, nice. And so do you have any, particular verticals that you found this works really, really well for? I mean, I know a lot of us with SaaS, we're like, oh, this works with everyone, and
Yeah, yeah,
typically it does. But is there any particular kind of like niched verticals where you've been like, oh my goodness,
yeah,
Car Convert was installed and it just, blew all expectations?
yeah. Anything with an AOV above 250, we are
Yeah.
absolutely cooking for. Um,
Okay.
and when you think about it, it makes total sense. Above 250, it starts to not be an impulse purchase. It starts to, I have a lot of questions about this. And as you start to go up that chain of like, okay, this is a $500 purchase, this is $1,000 purchase. We have one company that sells $3,000 concrete mixers to
Wow.
construction guys, and they just
Yeah.
love having like construction conversations with the agents about like everything. But it's a $3,000 purchase. Like they want to have all of these answers, and we've crushed it for them. Like they have been, because you just have to get a couple of those, and then it's like, okay, well that's already $9,000. All right, that's 15. All right, that's 30. Like
Yes. Yeah, no,
it stacks up quick.
absolutely. I mean, yeah, those big AOV products, like you typically see that on like a, conversion funnel, right? It's like you can see that impulse purchase, let's say
Yeah,
under 200, under 250. It doesn't take as much. thought or research or understanding to be like,
Yeah.
hey, that looks cool. I want it right now. So it's like, boom, let's go. But I think with those larger purchases, absolutely. I mean, we work with, some larger brands like Logitech and
Yeah.
Sony and everything like that. And you can see that there's a lot of like really quick purchase pathways for, sub 200, sub 150 products. But anything above, it's like, you'll typically see this longer cycle, and then it's kind of like they've got to research and they've got to really find out, like, you often see they visit the warranty pages
Yeah.
afterwards, or they keep coming back to the product page to view the description. So I really like that idea of what Car Convert does, where it's like, hey, I'm interested in this. Instead of me having to go and get word of mouth research or dig through Reddit or watch 5 million YouTube videos to get 50 different opinions. Why doesn't the brand tell me, why I should purchase this? Why doesn't the
Yeah.
brand tell me about the warranty? And it sounds like you guys are solving a real issue there, which is awesome. And I like the B2B example you've made there, because that is B2B, right? It's like
Yeah.
contractors, construction, they're a business, they're purchasing these super large ticket items. And it's like, I think B2B is often, my good friend and mentor, who I believe one of my mentors that you probably know, Jason Greenwood, who's like super well known in that B2B
Of
space.
course.
I definitely think you guys should connect, because I think he'd be a great partner, because, in our podcast and in our conversations, he's kind of dove into the fact that there's so many amazing SaaS out there for D2C, for,
Yeah.
B2C, but sometimes often the B2B isn't as sexy, or doesn't appear to be as sexy, but there's so much opportunity. I mean, you just explained it then. It's like, if you're increasing sales by 50%, or probably larger based upon what you've said then, for those high ticket, high AOV items, that is a huge,
Huge.
huge, huge impact. Like,
Yeah.
we're not talking, a couple of $1,000s. We're talking like a couple of $1,000s every single purchase.
Yeah.
And that's where it gets really cool, I think. So yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm not sure if you've spoken to Jason about Car Convert, but you two should definitely connect at some point. I feel like that'd be a really, really great conversation and something he'd be interested in. So make sure you
Sure.
remind me to do that after this.
For
Um,
sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
oh, sorry, you go.
No, I was just gonna say I had a conversation with an agency like 2 weeks ago, and like half of their book is basically HVAC companies and
Yeah,
electricians. And he
yeah,
was he was like, dude, if you can make an integration with these guys, because we're trying to win like $15,000 HVAC contracts,
yeah,
we'll cut you
yeah,
a big piece of that, because like that
yeah,
is a whole different ball game. Where like
yeah,
what happens when you start to win multi-thousand-dollar HVAC contracts, or electrical contracts, or cement contracts, or stuff like that, where it's like, this is pretty monumentally large sums of money that are exchanging hands.
absolutely. Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. And that's where I think, I think as much as we refer to e-commerce at the moment, there's, obviously a very large
Oh yeah.
focus on that, being B2C and D2C. I really think with everything that's happening, and, the utilization of AI and agents and all of these things, I think that, we're going to see more of a broad kind of opening of all SaaS and all agency to more B2B kind of experiences. I think, B2B is maybe, kind of, as I said earlier, like being a little bit neglected, but I
For
think
sure.
now it's becoming more and more prevalent. And I think we're going to end up in this age where it's not called e-commerce, it's just commerce, right?
Yeah.
And all of the SaaS tools are going to evolve to have different functionality. I know even at Growave, we're working very closely with Shopify on some B2B stuff around, loyalty and reviews and everything like that. That's very specialist to cater to that B2B space. And I think it's a fascinating space that's going to grow. And I mean, selfishly, from an agency side of things, when I had my agency in Australia, we worked with a ton. We had an equal split of sort of like D2C customers and e-com, and then a very large B2B practice. And I always felt that the monumental outcomes, to your point, like that you can make for B2B businesses are huge and they last
Yeah.
so long versus with D2C, you're focusing on so many more metrics. You're trying to lower cost per acquisition, you're
Yeah.
trying to increase LTV, you're trying to increase AOV. It's this constant grind of things that you have to focus on. And I think it's a really exciting time for, Car Convert, all of us in that SaaS space that are kind of leaning into this B2B a little bit more. So super exciting. Anyway, sorry for the tangent.
No, all good. I totally agree. And I think part of the big shift for B2B that they are slowly realizing is they need to migrate off of the hosting platforms they have like kind of built this whole thing on. Like you see guys and you stumble onto guys that are like, hey man, I'm running like Magento, or like I'm running a fully custom build. Like I ran into that 4 weeks ago. I was like, yeah, what's your build on? Like I'd love to integrate with you guys and we can mess with you at Car Convert. It's a great product. Like he was like, oh, his website's fully custom code. I was like, what? No, he was like, no,
Yeah,
I have a developer literally keystroke every single line of the website.
wild,
I'm like, dude, you gotta
wild.
migrate off of that. And like
Yeah,
first you need to be on a better hosted website so you have more access to like app accessibility and like things that'll actually help your business instead of being siloed into like a WordPress custom build headless website. Like no shade to
absolutely.
WordPress, but like
Yeah,
it's not the
yeah.
best type of, platform for what you're trying to do with the online. So,
Definitely. And I think to that point, Colin, it's kind of like that's why the Shopify ecosystem is
yeah.
is so thriving, is because it's like, well, what is the problem you're trying to solve? Here's the plethora of SaaS that can solve that problem.
Plug.
It's literally the easiest thing. Like there isn't much that's difficult to stand up on an apps like on a Shopify app store
Yeah.
perspective, right? Like you can at least get things moving, in a short period of time, and you can start testing and ensuring that it's a good fit. There's free trials. Like it's such a like environment that's built for like entrepreneurs and businesses to succeed. So I agree with you 100%. It's like I know that there are some use cases where it's like um you know and very few, but like brands where they've got a uh very complicated
Yeah.
logistical side, or
Yeah.
thousands of SKU, and they've been operating in this environment where they've had a custom site for like 20 years,
Yeah.
and to change that would be detrimental to like
Oh
the
my gosh.
entire business. But it's
Yeah.
very rare, right? Like we're
Yeah.
talking about the one in 100 versus the 99 out of the 100 that are a great fit for platforms like Shopify that can just get in, get things moving, get that revenue happening, simplify your processes and move forward, and use tools like Cart Convert to help you do that and to communicate with your customers. So I agree 100%. So look, we've covered a couple of things, so far. What I'd really love to do, Colin, because I really like your philosophy on partnerships and your expertise in this space, I would love to hear from you. You're new at Car Convert, relatively new, building out, the partnerships process for them and everything like that. What are some of the key things that you focus on from a partnerships perspective? Like,
Yeah.
what's your ethos and your approach to partnerships?
Yeah. It is basically over communication and making sure comms are established very well. So like
Yeah,
all of the partners that I've established and looped into Car Convert, I will have weekly check-ins with every single one of them. If that's
nice.
a blast directly to their partner entire channel, or that's a personal DM to them directly, just
Yeah,
checking in and being like, hey, what's up? And really like you have to get to know them. And like this takes real tangible hours and work where it's like, what's going on? How's everything going with the business? What can we help with? Is there anything you guys are looking for? Um, is there anything you guys are hiring for right now? Like it's more than just, hey, we're going to pass you referrals. Like, and a great example too is one of the agencies that I'm working with 3 weeks ago. they made a huge push into acquisitions, and they were like, we want to scoop up as many brands and agencies as possible. And I'm like, great, I will push you over all those intros for all those deals going on. And so it's just being top of mind about like, what does that partner need at that time, and then what are the key metrics that they actually want to push forward with the business, and then aligning
Yeah,
yourself with that.
absolutely. And I think that's a really good point, Colin. It's like that has nothing typically to do with car
100%.
convert, right?
No.
Like I'm going to introduce you to a whole bunch of agency
Yeah.
partners. Absolutely nothing to do with that. I mean, I've done things like going as far as like babysitting for partners in the past to help out.
Yeah.
Not even kidding.
Yeah.
Not in this role, previous roles. But, you know, I think that it's like going above and beyond and
100%.
consistently being there for people no matter what their requirements are. And, understanding what that looks like, right? Like I have a couple of partners who have been through some incredibly stressful times of
Yeah.
late with tariffs and just business is not booming like it used to be, and being available and being able to have a conversation there. And, my 2 cents probably isn't as relevant because it was in Australia and it was, oh my goodness, like I'm nearly 10 years ago now. So it's kind of like that isn't as relevant. To these people.
Sure.
However, um, being there and being a good friend and offering advice and listening when it's required is a testament to not just being a good partner, but I think a testament to this ecosystem. And I don't know too many other ecosystems where there are these great support networks and there are these great, kind of things. I think to your point earlier you made about falling in love with this industry, I think there's so many great people in this industry and we all really
Sure.
genuinely actually care about each other. Even if it's competing companies, there's still a level
Yeah.
of care there, and I mean, there's a lot of
Yeah.
if you don't like your competitors, you can't be in this space because there's a lot of competitors in our space. But it's to your point, I think like actually being there and actually caring about their success, no matter what it looks like, is
Yeah.
really key. So I love that. Um, and cool. And so the other thing I'd love to know is like, you spoke then about communication and like
Yeah.
over communicating and always being there. I find that I often am even sending text messages to partners and stuff like that, even though that, a lot of people maybe don't have that level of relationship. But what tools do you find, that really help you manage your partnerships program?
For sure. I'm a big guy on Slack. I love Slack so much. Ideally, you have all your partners lined up in Slack with organized channels, organized by category. You can reach out to everybody there. You also can keep tabs on every single person. Slack is like the gold standard for how you should communicate with partners. And then on
Yeah.
top of that, you can have basically a newsletter blast out on top of all of that goes out to customers and partners. And then ideally, if you're getting really close with a partner, also a phone number too, just for like comms that you really want to talk about or something like really emergency, you hit them up right away. I had a great example. I had a partner hit me up at 6:30 this morning and was like,
Oof.
"Hey, hey dude, can you get on with this company? They have a question about their account." And I was like, "Sweet. I'll set it up right now." And
Yeah.
so there's like certain levels where, if partners really want my phone number, they can have it. And I say, you can text me at any time you need. I don't have any friends, so I'm probably going to respond to you pretty quickly. So
I
please
love
shoot
that.
me a text.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really really good point, and that it comes back to just having that closeness of relationship. I think we're really
Yeah,
lucky in our space to be able to do that. Um, Cool. And so, look, if people want to check out Cart Convert, what's the best way for them to do that? How can they connect with you? Is there, do you direct them straight to the website? Do you want them to reach out to you on LinkedIn? I mean, we have our audience is obviously a lot of partners and a lot of
sure.
our own customers, Growwave's customers watch this. So I feel like this is definitely a valuable tool. So what's the best way for them to reach you and check out Car Convert?
For sure. Yeah. If you want to hit me up on LinkedIn or Twitter, anything like that, reach out directly. I'll respond to you within that day, probably within
Yeah.
that 6 hour window. But I will respond to you and get back to you, and we will figure out something to make sure you're taken care of for sure.
Absolutely, and I'll make sure those links are in the show notes for sure. And Colin, I always like doing this with our guests because you and I met in Austin. I know you
Yeah.
recently relocated. I know
Yeah.
you've traveled quite a bit. But in our industry, one of the other great things, sometimes not so great, is that we all travel a lot, right? So it's like we're all constantly traveling, going to conferences, hosting events, running around like crazy. So. I always like to ask everyone, I don't have it next to me today, but what it is that you can't live without when you're traveling, and you cannot say a person because everyone wants to say a person, but
Oh, yeah.
what's the thing that you can't live without when you're traveling?
Easy. Melatonin.
Oh yeah, to adjust
Easy.
to time zones.
Adjust to time zones because it's going to be miserable. I had to do a cross country trip like 4 weeks ago,
Yeah,
and that was that had me seeing ghosts for the first day because it was like I was up till 12 with the partner, but it
yeah,
was really like 3:30 my time, and I had been
yes,
traveling that whole day. And so
yeah.
getting that melatonin in to make sure that I'm actually going to sleep and knocking out and getting a good sleep to then adjust to wherever I'm going to. Especially if you're like not in your own bed or own house. Like,
Yes, yes, yeah. You're fighting against all of the
yeah,
sleep
yeah,
routine components. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
No, that's a great one. I I I have a love-hate relationship with melatonin. I take it
yeah,
sparingly, but I
yeah,
think that is a good move. There was an app that came out quite some time ago, because when I was in Australia. And then I worked for a Scandinavian company, and then I'd have to go to Singapore as part of that role. So it was just this perpetual, like, I won't swear, but cluster of travel.
yeah,
And so there was an app where it would tell me, depending on what time zone I was coming up to, what time I should go to bed in preparation for. And I could
yeah,
enter my flight details, and it would say, this is, either sleep on the flight, don't sleep on this flight,
yeah,
it'll mess you up, all of those sorts of things. But thankfully, I don't, most of my travel at the moment is stateside, occasional Europe. The Europe
yeah.
US, time zone isn't as bad. But if you go from that Australia to Europe time zone
Oh,
change, nightmare material. So usually you
nightmare.
end nightmare material. Yeah,
You're walking
see
around.
ghosts.
You're like looking.
Yeah,
You're like, is it 6 p.m.? Am I supposed to have dinner right now? But
yeah, it's
it's like 5
horrible.
a.m.
It's horrible. And you end up for the first at least 48 hours, just
48.
really,
Yeah,
yeah, the first 48 hours are just you're either not eating and not
yeah,
sleeping, or
yeah.
you're overeating and you're
Yes.
oversleeping. So it's like it's
Yeah.
really difficult to win that battle. So I think when I go back to Australia at some point to visit next year, I will definitely take your advice and take some melatonin, because that sounds like a good one. So
Yeah.
appreciate the advice.
Melatonin extended release. That is the key because I
Okay,
not
okay,
the instant release, so it stays the whole night through. I changed it up. I'm a little
okay.
bit of a sleep fiend, and then I
Hmm.
also take with that taurine if you want to get crazy with it, which actually calms your nervous system down. Uh,
Okay.
so I'll take both of those in combo to basically just chill out.
Nice, nice. I like that. I like that. And Colin, look, I'd love to do a second one of these, within the
For
next
sure.
12 months. And I think on that one, because I know that you and I have spoken about this privately, is like the whole, I wouldn't say body hacking, but like body optimization, nutrition, blood tests, blood work. I think that'd be something I'd love to, for us to dive in, on a future podcast for sure, because I think, as we discussed, I think that's something that, our industry could probably do a little bit better in, is just some of that awareness. And I'd love to be able to talk to you about that because I know we share an interest in that space. So but all in all, we can't I mean, we could riff forever, but we can't because of time constraints.
For sure.
But look, thank you so much for, coming on board. Really, really enjoyed this conversation. I'm sure our audience got a lot out of this. Guys, I'll make sure that all of Colin's LinkedIn links, his X/Twitter link is in there, as well as a link to the Cart Convert website. Please reach out to Colin. Highly recommend you checking out Cart Convert. You heard for yourself what those numbers look like and what those results can look like for businesses. So I think it's a no-brainer. And I'm sure if you reach out to Colin and mention that you saw this podcast, he'll take care of you.
For sure.
Colin, thank you so much for coming on, my friend. Really appreciate it, and look forward to having you back on within the next kind of 12 months. And I hope your sleep patterns are getting back to normal after the cross country adventure.
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate that. And it was awesome having on jumping on this. And yeah, I'll see you end of this month in Boston in person.
Yes, yes. So might have to take some melatonin there. Although it's only an hour jump, it's no jump for you,
Easy.
correct? So that
Easy.
yeah, easy, easy. And it'll be colder, so I will sleep no matter what. I sleep very well in the cold,
Nice.
so I'll be fine.
There we go. I love it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Colin. Really appreciate it, man. And I'll connect with you shortly. And
Sounds good.
audience, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Retain, Grow, Thrive, the Growave podcast. I'm your host, Joe Fox, president at Growave. Uh, Once again, please check out the links in the show notes. I think the Car Convert is an absolute no-brainer, super easy install. Colin will take care of you. It's definitely worth trying because we all know that we all need as many conversions as we can get at the moment. And please stay tuned for the next episode. Thank you so much for being supporters of this channel and of this podcast. And if you have any guests that you'd like me to interview, please mention them below wherever you get your podcasts, and I'll do my best to get them on. Thank you so much.